a past of colonialism and apartheid through which the people of our country were humiliated, were stripped of the assets that could have given them a better life than what they are enjoying now. Were stripped of the privilege of education.
This is the journey to one Africa.
Now, through this debate, you've not only shown the determination of members of the National Council of Provinces to confront and overcome poverty and inequality in our society. Through the various inputs that were made here, you've demonstrated that there is a deep understanding of where our challenge of poverty and inequality arises from. Yes, as I said earlier, it arises from our past, a past of colonialism and apartheid through which the people of our country were humiliated, were stripped of the assets that could have given them a better life than what they are enjoying now. Were stripped of the privilege of education, of being able to lead dignified lives. That's where our poverty originates from. Now, it is also showing that you do understand the past and are able to better interpret the present that we're living in. And through this debate, you've also been able to show how we can chart a future. It is when one understands those three: the past, to interpret the current moment, and to be able to then craft a clear way forward. For the most part, the debate has been about solutions. It has been about how we can take meaningful action to address the challenge of poverty and inequality that we face. So it has largely been about the way forward. How do we move forward? Now, I've been heartened to have heard how the speakers from various provinces, either as premiers or MECs, have been able to articulate very, very positively and hopefully about how we can craft that future and the various steps that our provinces are taking to help get us out of this position that we are in. Premier of the Eastern Cape, who has had to rush out, spoke very, very glowingly and powerfully, I would say, about the various interventions that are being made in the Eastern Cape, from building roads, where he said that indeed the Eastern Cape has become a construction site, where roads are being built, where bridges are being built to connect villages that would otherwise not been connected by meaningful infrastructure. And how the Eastern Cape, yes, has even gone beyond what we've always known the Eastern Cape as, the auto capital of our country, which has for many years been manufacturing vehicles that we've been exporting to various countries in the world, but how now it has embraced renewable energy mechanisms, and how the Eastern Cape is now excelling in building wind turbines to a point where the young people who are working in this sector are now being poached to go and work in various countries abroad. There was a time when the skills that we had developed, that our young people had developed in automaking, were also being utilized in countries that, if you like, were the real originators of automaking through various brands like Mercedes-Benz and BMWs, where some of those factories were asking people from the Eastern Cape to be exported to Germany and all that, to go and teach some of the German workers how to make cars. Now we've developed another skill of how wind turbines have now become a center of excellence, where young people are now being poached or sent to various parts of the world, because the Eastern Cape is the capital of developing wind turbines and using wind energy for renewable energy. The Premier of KZN has also had to rush out, but speaks very glowingly about how they have raised up to 90 billion rand in new investments, and how KZN has continued to be the artery, the economic artery of our country, through the N3 and through the harbors that we are rebuilding to make sure that our economy keeps pumping. And how the KZN is also beginning to excel in the auto sector. And one just highlights the very many hopeful interventions that are happening in our provinces. In Gauteng, MEC Mamabulo speaks about, as he picks up what the term I use about flywheel, and defines it in the most intellectual way of saying a flywheel is what he told us was. Very educative. But the Gauteng being the heart of our economy, and how our provincial government has embarked and continues to embark on many interventions that continue to drive the economy of our country, but also various projects that they are going to embark upon, infrastructure being also at the heart of it. Premier of Limpopo, talking about how Dr. Ramathuba, they sought to raise something like 80 billion rand in their investment conference, ended up raising 120 billion rand. For what? For various projects that Limpopo is embarking on in a variety of economic sectors. But what they are also beginning to excel on is insourcing, making sure that they insource services that were always outsourced, to the disadvantage in a number of areas of the province. Now they are going to be teaching us many lessons about how we should move back to insourcing, to getting the government to do work, and by so doing to strengthen the capacity of government, of getting government to utilize people that we have in government, to sharpen their own skills and to be able to execute projects. And that is going to enable us to ensure that projects are executed on time and on budget, sharpening the skills that we should have in government. Northwest, the Premier talks about the various projects that they are embarking on and mentions a number of figures that they are going to be investing in a number of projects, special projects, both infrastructure, as well as ensuring that they support the private sector, the small, medium enterprises. And that demonstrates hopefulness, that demonstrates positivity on how our provinces are looking more and more positively at what the future should hold for the people of our country. The Northern Cape, the renewable energy capital of our country, that has seen hundreds of billions of rands being invested in solar energy, and now embarking on a very bold and futuristic project on hydrogen, and saying that through this hydrogen project we are going to be a global player, coming from a province that has the smallest population in our country, creating jobs, and not only relying on mining, but relying also on a huge resource that we have, sun, solar energy, and hydrogen. And now embarking on another bold and very courageous project, the Bogobai project, which is now attracting a lot of investment and moving towards being bankable, and with investors saying, yes, this Bogobai port, a deep water port, is a project that they can invest in. Premier of Mpumalanga talking about how, as like the tourism capital also of our country, together with KZN, of course, but yes, Western Cape as well, but how they're utilizing tourism to grow the economy of our country and also attracting a lot of investments. Honorable Chairperson, yes, the Free State also talks about how they want to become the logistical hub of our country, where all roads lead to the center of the country, which is the Free State, and how they want to utilize the positioning so effectively as to be able to grow the economy as the logistical hub of the country. But of course, the Free State, the MEC for Education spoke so powerfully about utilizing education, which they are number one at. They've continued to come number one with regard to matric pass rate, and I'm sure they will continue doing that into the future. So all our provinces have all spoken very, very positively about the future that is going to help us to address poverty, to help us also to eradicate inequality and create jobs. Now this I have found heartening. I found this very, very deeply moving. That yes, we live in an era now where we've got a government of national unity, which has also infused a lot of hope and confidence, not only in the hearts of our people, but also in those that are showing interest in our country from an investment point of view. Wherever I have traveled internationally, I have found and heard how people are now looking at South Africa as the one country that is so exemplary in being able to bring 10 political parties in a government of national unity working so well together. Now, and speaking here as president and being able to lead this government, I cannot be heard and will never be heard saying, the minister from the ANC did this, the minister from this party did this. No. I speak about the government of national unity. And it is this government that is beginning to change things and to change the mood in our country. And definitely demonstrating that we are on a journey. We're on a journey of moving our country forward. And this is also beginning to come through the various surveys that a number of people conduct. We should also understand that a number of the interventions and projects that are underway started in the 6th administration. And for those who would like to say, yes, it's us and so forth, please understand that this has been work that has been underway during the 6th administration, and some of the progress is reaching fruition now. And we should all be proud of the work that is being done by everyone. And yes, all of us in this 7th administration are keeping our eyes on what the people of South Africa voted for. They wanted us to address those 3 priorities that I spoke to. And through these 3 priorities, addressing the economic growth of our country, addressing unemployment, and making sure that we reduce the cost of living and also build a capable state. What this debate has also made clear is that our efforts to end poverty and create jobs rely to a large extent on how the state works. It must be a state that is capable and developmental, and we also need institutions that use public resources prudently and to the greatest effect. So local government must therefore be at the center of these efforts. And President of SALGA, President Swahili, spoke so powerfully about how working together in all 3 spheres of government, we will be able to address the challenges that face our country. Functioning municipalities are therefore vital for the provision of basic services to our people and to eradicate poverty and to address the challenge, yes, of inequality and unemployment, where we need also to create an environment for local economic development. Yes, as Honorable Briet also said, many municipalities are falling short in this respect, threatening further to impoverish poor communities. It is therefore essential that all spheres of government and all public bodies work together, as Honorable Stofile said. As a vital institution of government, that is local government, we need to enhance the governance at local government, and the NCOP plays a central role in this work. Among other things, the NCOP should make sure that national and provincial government provide the necessary support to local government, and it intervenes where appropriate and in line with the constitutional obligation that you have. Now, as the Government of National Unity, we are giving close attention to strengthening local government. This is now one of the areas where the reforms that we are working on at national government level really takes effect. And Premier Ntuli provided a practical example of the work that we are doing in the Presidential eThekwini Working Group, which brings together key role players in the city of eThekwini and the different spheres of government to collectively address the challenges facing the city. It was when I went to eThekwini, when various stakeholders asked to see me, when we decided that we should set up the eThekwini Presidential Working Group. And that is beginning to yield really good positive outcomes, through which we are going to return Durban to being the tourism capital of our nation once again. Now, this working group is showing progress in dealing with the problems like dilapidated and aging infrastructure, water shortages, dwindling tourism numbers, and low business confidence. It was really a joy if Honorable Badenhorst will listen, because he's making noise right next to me here. Now, it was really a joy to listen to hoteliers, big hotel groups saying, we are coming back to Durban. We are going to revive the very well-known hotel groups, the Hilton and many others. We are going to reopen because we can see that, yes, Durban is now under reconstruction. It is going to come back to what it was. As Premier Ntuli has noted, this working group demonstrates a great deal of commitment because there are various sectors of society that are working together. And we are hopeful that the eThekwini Working Group will serve as a model for collaborative efforts to other municipalities. I'd like us to begin to give attention to our other 7 metros, particularly 6 metros that are facing challenges. And through this type of working group approach, we will be able to address some of their challenges. In tackling local government challenges, we need to be more deliberately involved in the institution also of promoting key leadership, but in a number of other areas of traditional leadership as well, as the President of SALGA also spoke about. Our Constitution sees traditional leadership as an instrument of development and progress, dedicated to improving the lives of the people of our country. And in particular, there needs to be closer cooperation between traditional authorities and local government structures in implementing integrated development plans. And I'm not saying this because I'm sitting next to Chief Nonkonyane, who's also a traditional leader. And we are therefore looking forward to strengthening the collaboration between all various institutions that support our democracy. At the beginning of this month, Honorable Chairperson, members of the National Executive, as in Cabinet, as ministers and deputy ministers, we held a meeting in Polokwane with the Limpopo Provincial Executive Council. A week later, we held a meeting with the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Executive Council. In another week or two, we're going to move to Mpumalanga to meet the Executive Council in Middelburg. Now, these are the beginning of a series of engagements with provincial governments to ensure closer alignment between the priorities and programs of these 2 spheres of government. And in highlighting some of the very positive interventions that our provinces are embarking on, we want to deepen all these and spread them and make sure that national government gives maximum support to our provinces as well as to our local government, so that the intergovernmental approach that we have to strengthening government and strengthening the capacity of the state becomes a reality. Now, through these engagements, we also have an opportunity that provinces are utilizing to raise areas where the support of national government is needed to unlock progress on key developmental issues. And beyond these 4 provinces that we are going to do this year, we will also be able to do the other 5 provinces next year. All these efforts are guided by our approach to the district development model that we have crafted. Work is continuing to entrench the district development model in the work of all spheres of government to improve alignment in planning, budgeting, and implementation. Now, ministers and deputy ministers have recently been appointed as district champions, covering every district and metro in our country. Now, part of their responsibility is to support municipalities in implementing their constitutional responsibilities and improving the lives of our people. The eradication of poverty is an effort that requires the resources, the ingenuity, and the capabilities of all of society. Now, South Africa has a strong and robust civil society with a long tradition of involvement in political, social, and economic change. It is essential that civil society as well, in its various forms, feels that it is an integral part of the work to build an inclusive economy and to reduce poverty and inequality in our country. During our G20 presidency, we will be taking forward an innovation of Brazil's G20 presidency this year, where they convened what they call the G20 Social Summit, which brought together a number of civil society organizations in the world, including some from our country, where 47,000 people participated in various mini-summits that were held at social level. And we will be doing so, because this will bring together social and civic formations from across the G20 members to deliberate on issues that affect people in those countries and across the world. So in the end, we will be taking forward our own experience that we have had on the long journey to eradicate, to bring an end to the nightmare of apartheid, but also to get civil society to continue being participants in the transformation of our country. Now, this is who we are as South Africans. Now, the NCOP plays a critical role as an organ of our state that brings together our provinces, that brings together, yes, even our local government representatives to play a role in addressing issues such as poverty, inequality, and yes, unemployment. So, Honorable Chairperson, it's been a real pleasure for me to be in this debate and to hear members of this House speaking so positively, so hopefully about the future that South Africa must embrace. And I was very pleased that even those who may well be parties that are not in the GNU would like to see progress being made on a number of fronts. That even as they don't participate in government, by their mere participation in this House and mere participation in this debate, they spoke also with a great deal of hope and saying these are things that need to be addressed. So I didn't see this as a complaint session, but as a session where a great deal of hope was being articulated. So I'd like to thank you, Honorable Chair, for allowing me to be in this debate, and I look forward to further debates. The NCOP is certainly a progressive center of states that we are moving forward to making more capable. And it is composed of very capable people, people who are very articulate, people who are also very intelligent.